Hello and welcome back to Read Becca again for one of my chatty catch-ups on everything I read this week, everything I'm currently reading, and everything I'm looking forward to reading. So I read a couple things. I did not finish as much as I would have liked. I didn't finish anything in print because I had much more ebooking and audiobooking time. So my print stuff did get a lot of priority, and you will see why I didn't finish anything. But firstly, I finished Fire by Kristin Cashore. This is the second in the Graceling series, and these are all, I believe, companion novels. So this one actually takes place before Graceling, the first book in the series. Now, this is a very interesting YA high fantasy. It's not epic fantasy, I would not say. This is not world-ending stakes. There's a lot of politics and drama. And the best thing about this series and why it is so excellent and well loved, with a lot of people coming back to it recently due to the publication of a new book in this series after quite a long time, is that it doesn't talk down just because it's intended for a YA audience. A lot of times you'll see the elements simplified a lot more for a YA audience, and this series doesn't really do that. It has a lot of the tropeful elements that you would expect, but it just writes them with a lot of nuance and depth. And this book surprised me with how dark it is. So this one features rape, and it talks about periods quite a bit. It talks about decisions around reproduction and having babies, and magical solutions to either be sterile if that's your choice, or not have a child, that sort of thing. So it does engage with kind of these specific women's topics for sure, and it also has just this great story, great world building, and characters that you can get behind. It's also a very chunky book, so obviously it doesn't look like on my Kindle, but it's over 500 pages. It's a real chunky one. So in this world, we have people who have graces. They're kind of born with the ability to do something at a special level. So you could have a grace in any sort of thing. You could just be an amazing blacksmith, for instance. In this case, though, we're in another part of the world where people don't have graces. They have these creatures or people who they know as monsters. So even people are monsters, who have this very vibrant color to them. So they might have fiery orange hair, for instance. And these monsters all have kind of a little bit of brain control ability over standard humans. So that's an interesting plot element, because that becomes really the theme of this, is mind control. So we do also have another character who is not a monster, but does have a mind control ability. So we're introduced to that kind of very mind control-y premise, and guarding your mind and having kind of fortitude for your mind, weak-mindedness versus strong-mindedness, and the ways that it can be used for either good or evil. So that's an interesting premise, because this character, Fire, our main character, does have some mind control abilities because she is the last remaining monster human. And her father used his abilities for kind of evil. He was not a great guy. And she, as a result of who he was and her status, is in connection with people who are very powerful and royals. So she's taken off to the court to help them out with, like, questioning prisoners, that sort of thing. And she's very, very clear about what she will do in that capacity, and that she won't, mind control people basically for them. So she always has this moral compass, definitely, even in this difficult situation where there is a war starting, and they don't know, or there is a lot of uncertainty politically, where they're really reliant on her. So she gets caught up in this. She gains relationships with a lot of people at court, and there's definite backstabbing, and people still really want her to do certain things because she is this monster. And I just love seeing her make these connections and have complex relationships, and have people want to use her, and her changing their minds. So it was really nuanced and very, very well done for a YA novel. And I hate to say that, because I read a fair amount of YA and have read good books that are YA, but the level of nuance in this was fantastic. And as I said, really dark, definite, heavy warnings. I would say the discussion of rape was handled pretty well. It's not ever on page, certainly, but this definitely brings up the idea that, rape as a consequence for women of war is a reality, and that there are children born out of rape that, then have this complex relationship with their families who are only partially their family. It's interesting the way it engaged with that topic. So I think this was great. It had a wonderful plot, really, really easy to connect to characters, and a dense story. I would also say that, as I said, this is slightly before the first book, and it includes the backstory, the origin story of one of the characters from the first novel. And so this is definitely his origin story, but I love how it tells that person's origin story while actually centering Fire as a character. So it doesn't actually center this other character who we're getting their origin story. So it's a really interesting way of handling that. So then I read Dispel Illusion by Mark Lawrence, and this one is messing up the screen, so I'm not going to leave that one up. That's the third book of the Impossible Times trilogy. It's a novella trilogy, sci-fi series, and I would say this one is kind of a mix between Stranger Things and Dark, if you've seen either of those series. This one, very, very similar to Stranger Things in the setup, in that it's these group of kids starting in the 80s where they are building a friendship over a D&D game, basically. And then something really weird happens, and it turns into something very timey-wimey. It's all about time travel. So time travel and the consequences of time travel, I would say, is a huge element of this. Mark is actually like a mathematician, rocket scientist person professionally, so he is writing this with an actual mathy background that he knows what he's talking about. So it does come across very, very real, and also accessible in terms of being understandable. He's not talking over your head with a lot of this stuff with tiny elements. I can't talk too much about plot outside of the first one because there is a continuity to this. I think this would have been better for me if I had read it together, because the first book is so much establishing your connection to the characters. There's not a ton that happens in the first book, and then a lot happens in the second book. In this third book, I felt like it was jumping around so much, and I just maybe was too distant from that first book's connection with the characters, that I was just kind of like, okay, where are we going with this, So I enjoyed it. I found it very compelling to read, but it didn't blow me away as much as the second book. Like, the second book was like mind-blowing, and it was doing so many interesting things that I hadn't seen before. This one felt like kind of a standard time travel novel. The best thing about this is that we really are getting a different perspective here. I don't know how to say it any other way without giving stuff away. But regardless, the major event of the first book, we do actually get to see that happen through another lens. We get to see it from a different perspective and see that we maybe didn't understand everything that was happening there. So that really was done extremely well, and I thought this wrapped up the series very, very nicely, and very, very satisfying, I think, in terms of the conclusion. So really enjoyed it, but not anything super special. So that's what I read this week. In terms of what I am reading, the pile is large. So you will see why I didn't finish any picks here, because I hadn't started this one yet last week, and I'm halfway through. This is a chonky book for BookTube Prize. It's The Art of Losing by Alice Zeniter and translated by Frank Wynne from French. So this is all about the French withdrawing from Algeria, really, I would say. I'm not going to talk about it too much, but yeah, this is a chunky one I have to get through for the BookTube Prize. And then continuing on, King Rat and My Life in France. Those ones I'm still in the early stages of, and we're kind of in the home stretch with Pillars of the Earth. I mean, very little progress this week. But Fire, I was reading on audio, so I should be able to get the audio back for this and get some progress on it this week. So Pillars of the Earth it's gonna happen this month. We're gonna finish it. So yeah, King Rat, I still am on the fence about, because I basically got another few pages and then something horrible happened. So I'm only about 70 pages into this. And actually, I will say the something horrible was animal cruelty. And this week, it was ridiculous. And I'm done with horrible men treating animals badly. 4 of the books that I read this week at points all had the same sort of thing. And I'm just done with it. I'm so frustrated that comes up constantly in these books. In, I think only one of them was it actually like an evil character. The rest, they're just callous people. And yeah, I'm very frustrated with that. So please stop writing characters that just are terrible to animals. Okay, so anyway, that is all the reading stuff. We got a lot of books to deal with. And I already did pick up one more of my booktube books. If you saw my tiny try a chapter, I have Convenience Store Woman. I really want to read that. I need kind of something a little bit more compelling and fun to read than all the heavy stuff that I'm reading right now. So I think that's all good to go. And I did get the delivery of the one booktube prize book that I had to buy. So my library fortunately had 5 out of my 6. So in terms of watching stuff, I think I just watched Amazing Race again. So I've been back on that. I'm on the final season that I have to watch, season 30. And I'm still enjoying it. It's great escapism. But then, of course, the hearing happened on Thursday night, and I spent the 2 hours watching that. I heartily recommend that if you did not watch it, if you're American and you don't have PTSD or something else preventing you from watching it, you should inform yourself and watch the January 6th hearings for sure. It's very important to us to be informed. So that was a lot, of course. It was very, very difficult to watch. There was a lot of stuff that I have already seen a lot of clips from what happened. I was watching it live as much as I could, and there was a lot that we hadn't seen before. So this was a lot of new footage, and it was alarming even as someone who has seen it before. So that, along with the case that was presented, were very important for us to see. So I will be continuing to watch that. I think after that, immediately after that, I was like, oh my god, this is horrible. I need to escape. And thankfully, the next episode of MasterChef had just come out. So I watched that right after on Hulu, because they're like a day delayed from when it actually airs. So I watched that night. So I'm all caught up on MasterChef yet again, and I don't have any more of that to watch, which is a bummer. And then this weekend, Friday night, I started watching Stranger Things. So now I'm starting only one episode into the new season of Stranger Things. So that's all my watching stuff. In life stuff, I honestly don't think I have really anything to say from life stuff this week. It has been yet another week of really going hard at gym sort of things. I had 2 trips again to the vet to pick things up. The first time they didn't have the stuff that I needed, so I wound up having to sort things out with the shelter and then go back to the vet. So I've been doing a lot more driving than I usually do, but not for anything enjoyable. Like my past couple years, I've only been going out for enjoyable stuff, and now I'm having to do like chores and run errands and stuff a lot. So that's a bummer. But I'm feeling very good still about the gym. I really enjoyed my workouts this week, so really good stuff. I did have a very big progress with Gumbo this week. She is semi-feral, my cat, and she is very timid about being petted and stuff. And so she somewhat suddenly started coming to me, and she'll like flop over, or she'll give me head bonk or rub alongside on me. And that has never happened before. Usually I have to really like be at full arm's length, like as far as I can, and sort of get her warmed up to being touched, and then she'll get into it. She loves being petted. She really likes being touched, but she's so afraid of it as well. So it really took a lot. Today, massive, massive step. She let me touch her with 2 hands at the same time. So we're getting some good progress. Unfortunately, I'm gonna have to take her to the vet at some point. She's way overdue on shots, and she doesn't go outside, so it's not a huge deal, but I still really want her to get checked out since I can't pick her up and stuff. I need the vet to check her regularly and make sure there's not anything that's a problem with her. So last time that happened, that set her back like 6 months in her progress of socialization with me. She was so traumatized by it. So I'm very worried that we're gonna get all this progress and then we're gonna do that and I'm gonna have to start all over. So yeah, I'm really torn about doing that. Anyway, so I think that's it for my week. I, as I said, don't have a ton otherwise. So my recommendations, one is not a real recommendation, unfortunately. It's yet another thing that you should look into this to be informed, and it's extremely disappointing. It's something in the bookish sphere here, but Book Riot did an article on this thing that's happening with Pride Month, where there is a group who have decided to start checking out all of the Pride display books from their libraries so that they're not available for people to check out. And that's horrible. It reminds me of the skit with Mitchell and Webb where they're Nazis, and I think it's David Mitchell. He notices, he's like, we've got a skull on our arm. Does that mean we're the bad guys? Like, are we actually the bad guys? Kind of thing. And that's exactly the scenario that I think of, because their slogan is hide the pride. So how does somebody type that up, like put that on their website, and at no point go, oh wait, I'm the villain? Like, it's devastating and so sad and just horrifying. And this is not like a fringe group. I think there's a massive misconception and division about the fact that really most religious people, for the majority, are totally okay with queer people. Like, we get sold a misconception, I think, that everyone is very extreme, and that's just not true. The reality is there are very, like, fundamentalists are very extreme, and a minority within religious groups. So in fact, this is not a extreme minority. This is apparently a major Catholic group, so it's also not kind of the usual that we would see, and that's very disappointing to see. So I will link that Book Riot article about it down below so you can check it out for yourself. But just really horrible stuff in the book world that, you know, we should all be informed about and be aware of, and if we see it in our library, definitely put a stop to it. So yeah, anyway, on better things that I would like to share with you, I have Kitten Lady, who I absolutely love. She is an online advocate on YouTube. She's someone I learned a ton about when I knew nothing about cats, and now I'm very involved with cats. She put out children's books. She's put out a couple of books now, but she just put out some children's fiction books that are going to be a series called Adventures in Fosterland. So she put out her first little video that's a reading, and it shows some of the pictures, and it is so adorable. The first one is about one of her baby piglets. So she specializes in baby animals, not as much cats. She very much started with cats, but she's an advocate for newborn kittens, and that has turned into a specialization in baby orphaned animals, really. Then I have Beach Bum Bookworm did a wonderful, wonderful tour of indie bookstores. It's like just internet-based pictures and stuff, looking at indie bookstores in each state in the US. So I found that like a great idea. And so we're getting a tour one state at a time, and I think this was just part one, and we're gonna get some more. So I enjoyed it so much. It gave me so much joy to see all of the really cool bookstores that we have in the US, and ones I might want to visit if I go travel, because I'm in an area that's very near multiple other states, so I could theoretically go visit a few of these. So that's it for my recommendations for this week. I think everybody keep yourself sane and take care of yourself, and thank you so much for watching. Got some lovely sauteed red cabbage with sweet onions, salt and pepper, and you guessed it, smoked paprika. Amazing. Got another red cabbage meal. Some red cabbage, brown rice, some avocado, and a little bit of Greek yogurt, and some Daiya cheese. Yum. Rue is the disgruntled bartender. Hey, are you going to serve me a drink? Oh, no drinks. My ferny baskets grew some nice purple flowers. Did not know were going to be in there. Rue is hard at work overseeing my reading today from the top of the bookshelf. Hey, what are you doing? What a goober. Hi. Hi, Rue. Coco is extremely sneaky. Can barely see him there. Such a good hidey cat. What a good Rue. Just like hanging out there between the plants. Coco is being very trusting. Normally Rue would like pounce him.